Guys, it's been raining here since all day yesterday, all night last night. Man, it is beautiful. I hope it's raining where you guys are. We got Kurt's 1970 model Cutlass, not in the house, but we got his tranny in the house. Guys, he shipped us all the way from Idaho. That's a long way to get this done. But he said it makes about 400 horsepower. It's a really nice car, and he wanted to get it done right. Now, 400 horsepower, we're going to put a little bit of converter in it. So we got B&I's B35 sitting over here, about a 2500 stall. We didn't want to go too much. It's about where the cam comes on and stuff like that. Pretty much off idle to about 5500. So perfect converter for that. Now we're going to build his BOP for him. Do all of our nice little tricks and stuff like that. And we got a lot of nice little tricks we do. So let's get this thing apart. It does look like, to me, it's got some writing here where possibly somebody built it before. Might have a gray paint on it or something, looks like. Now we are going to be putting all new clutches, bushings and stuff like that. We're going to put our real high energy third gear clutches in there. See our bushing here, seal. We have an O-ring here.
Oh man.
Now you can look how varnished up that is.
I hope that's not the whole side of it.
I hope so too, because that's hard to get out. Let me tell you, really hard to get off. So we got our speedometer gear here. Some of these slide pretty easy, and this one does. You can get in here, and there's a little lock right there, and you can push it down and pull it right off. Now they do make two different styles of these. The Chevrolet one is a little bit longer and has a little updraft on the end of it. The gear's even different. In other words, the clip would go in this one would hang on the end here. Well, this one here goes in this way and hangs on right here. So they do make two different styles. So now being a BOP, that could be why this is that way. Then we have our governor here. We got our governor cover bracket that keeps it on. Now not all of them have these, and not all of them have the hole right here for it. So just depending, if it's got it and you can find one, get it, put it on there, because these covers can come off. Now you can see this one was put on without any type of sealant, anything like that. It was probably leaking like crazy around that seal. We always put the new O-ring on it, and then we do put a little bit of sealant on it too, just that way we know for a fact it don't leak. And we have a new, I was thinking about my new gear sitting over there, but you got your governor here. You want to make sure your surface here, and here is really good. Scotch-Brite that up. Make sure this stem isn't loose on the body where you can grab it and rock it. These are bad about that. And also replace your gear. We have a brand new gear set in here. Now the 350 gears go to the left. 400s go to the left. Your 700s go to the right. So you got to make sure you have the right gear before you take it apart and destroy it. Now we're going to make this one here have a manual capability, but still when you put it in drive, it still shifts normally. So we will not be doing any modifications to the governor. But still, you want to look in here and look at this bore right here and make sure it's not wore out. If this bore's wore out down in here, get you another case. They do make a reamer kit where you can put a bushing in here, some long drills. Kind of expensive to do it. If you can find another case, do that. It's a lot cheaper. So now we have our 1-2 accumulator right here. I've already took the clip out, but you can take a pin driver, put it in this little hole right here, and you can push this snap ring out where you can pull that cover off. I didn't realize how easy it was going to be. I'd have waited to show you guys. Now we have a cushion spring right here. We have your O-ring, and then we're going to have a piston right here. Now y'all, if this spring's broke, you want to look down in here for any damage. If this area is beat up all through here, you're going to have to get rid of the case and get another case. So if this has got a broken spring in here, you better check that and see, because if it's beat up, you better need another case. If you put it in there with it all tore up, then you're in trouble. So now on this unit here, we're going to put that piston back in there with new rings on it. We're going to come in here and Scotch-Brite both these bores up, and then we're going to leave that spring out. We're not going to put it in right now. So what we'll do is we'll do all of our modifications to this tranny, And then we're going to go drive it, and if it shifts too firm into second gear, then we'll be adding that spring back. So you want to hang on to that spring. So this tranny here is capable of shifting very firm into second gear. It's got a very big second gear clutch. So you got to be really careful. And also, this tranny here, the apply piston for the second gear is inside the pump. So every time second gear comes on, it's trying to push the pump out of the case. So you can see here somebody put some silicone on there with another O-ring, or same O-ring probably. I don't ever double seal my modulator. I'll put a new O-ring on there. We have a new modulator right here. Sitting here, let me grab a rag. Now our modulator comes with a new hose. It's adjustable on the inside. We usually turn them in one full turn before I even give this tranny back to the gentleman. And usually about right there is a good place to start. We're going to get our modulator valve out right here. Now some of your shift kits will come with a spring that goes on this valve right here. I've never used them. I've always wanted a little bit firmer shift and a little bit later shift. When you put that spring on there, your shifts are going to be a little earlier. Your shifts are going to be a little bit softer. So everything around here, we always want a little bit firmer shift. So very seldom do we build grandma transmissions out of here. So, but man, we got some caramel there. Let me get my socket over here. This old mount is about as old could be. I'll keep his bolts, yeah. Throw his mount away, but I'll keep his mounting bolts, clean them up, and put them back in the case when we build it back that way. He has some way to mount his, or has his bolts back to mount his stuff. So now this pan, I guess, has got a bullet hole in it. Wow, that's pretty neat. I think this car's been set in a while, and I think he's totally restoring it. That's why you kind of see the cobwebs and just the way the bolts and stuff look on it. So. Almost looks like a bullet hole. It sure knocked it through there. But you know, the pan looks really good on the inside. Don't see it like it's full of water or anything like that. Now you can tell this tranny's run really hot all of its life, and that's why your fluid looks like that. It's not from the tranny slipping or anything like that. It's because the tranny needed a cooler put on it. If you'd have put a cooler on it and serviced it, all that color would have went away, that darkness like that. So. Of course, this filter's been beat up pretty hard. It's been smashed down around all the bolts and stuff here. Now these are really nice filters when they're good. These are a cleanable filter. It's a brass style filter. They're bad about pulling out from under this edge right here though. So you got to really look at that. If this filter wasn't all beat up, bent and stuff, it'd be a good filter. But that's something you really want to look for. And we have a new filter over there ready to go. A lot of these BOPs come with a material type filter and you just throw it away. So I was prepared for that, thinking that that's probably what's going to have in it. So now here is our passing gear linkage here. I got to call him back and see if he's going to be hooking up his passing gear cable. On a BOP, you really need to. Now if we're going to get rid of the passing gear cable, then we're going to leave this on here, but we're going to run a strap from here to this bolt. And then we're going to adjust it to where this here has got two springs on it. It's got this one, and then it's got that one. It stops. So it's a two-step. Soft, hard. So we're going to make that bracket to where it's pushing it on it right there. It don't have to touch. If it's just back 30 thousandths, it's fine. But you definitely want to take and put your bracket pushing that in on that. If you go all the way, you're going to hold it in passing gear and it'll never shift. Now, what's crazy, Oldsmobiles, stuff like that, I don't know what it was about GM. A lot of these come out with factory shift kits. So a lot of Chevys, you didn't see that. So I believe, even though this train's been apart, it's probably got a factory shift kit in it because, like I said, that's the BOP from GM had them. Take it off there. See if I can get some type of identification on the gasket, which I'm not. Now this thing could have had some water in it because this old gasket is really stuck to the valve body. Now we do have our S clip here. I should have talked a little bit about that in your manual valve, but it goes in here like that. It only goes in one way, pretty simple. But this gasket, it's maybe, oh, look at there. That's unbelievable. Caught it just right. And, you know, having these green dots on there kind of throws me off a little bit. You know, it could tell me maybe aftermarket. Like I said, it's really hard. Now, you can see here the accumulator spring is missing here unless it's broke. We'll get this off. No, it's not broke. Now you always want to check and see if this wobbles and make sure your pinhole ain't wore out. Now this valve right here. Now since we're going to make this tranny semi-manual shifting, we're going to come here and block this valve. Well, if you come here and look, somebody already done it. This valve does not move. All your other ones are going to move. This one here, right here, does not. And this one here will move. If you come over here and look, we got an orange type of shift kit spring. Normally they're green or blue from the factory. Come on. Normally you can get that pin out right there. Out of springs. The shift kit springs are tougher to push in. I can't get that pin out, but this is your pressure regulator valve here and your boost sleeve and stuff down through here. Your shift kit's going to come with a new spring through here. It won't come with a new boost valve though. I'd say your factory spring is a green spring or a blue spring or something like that. So I get my hands in there, my hands are sweating like crazy. But being that this spring here's been left out, we know somebody's been in it for 100%. Now, this shift kit plate right here, man, they got crazy on this stuff. Like I say, just because they want you to drill a hole to 120 thousandths, don't drill it to 190 just because you think bigger's better. I mean, look how massive this hole is. Actually, I'll throw this plate away now because they drilled these two holes right here. These are your shift valve feed holes, sir. And I mean, that's just way too big. I mean, it's like kind of crazy. Now this shift here, it's got some other stuff done to it. Now some of these plates come with a secondary plate. Get it unstuck there. There we go. Now you can see here how they did this, how they moved one circuitry across the board. Normally this plate would be on there without this plate. It'd just be a plug. And what they did is they added a circuit here for your third gear clutch. So if you're using a stock plate without a shift kit, you can put it on there just like that, and then you're going to do the same. You're going to do a little bit modification on the inside. So what you're going to do is you're going to leave your center sealing ring off your stator of the 3, and then when you get into the drum, you're going to leave your center seal off of the drum, and that is basically, when you do that, it's the same thing as doing this. So That's why if you know what you're doing on a lot of these trannies, you don't need a shift kit to make it work better as long as you know how they work. So, and believe me, we know how they work around here. Now you notice here, got some crazy stuff going on here. I don't know what they did there. Now normally we'd have a check ball here, 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 and here. Now I usually, if you're gonna do it, we'd be leaving this check ball out, and leaving these two in. We'd be leaving these two out. Leaving these two in. Now I don't know what they did here. I'm gonna have to go back and see what they blocked. It's something to do with the accumulator port, so I'm gonna go back and see if I need to correct that. Cause, we have our engine brake band servo here. Now there is a little washer right here you can lose real easy. A little washer right there. It goes on there first, and then that goes on there. Now, some of these will come with a metal ring, Teflon rings. They do make different styles, of these too. So just try, if you have to change it, if your pin board's wore out, if you have to change it, just make sure you try to find one that's identical. So. We got our parking linkage here. You put the shifter in park, it moves this lever here, and it locks on. Very simple. Drive shaft quits turning. We want to get this apart and look at the pump, because on these pumps, the 350 makes multiple pump gear thicknesses. So we want to look at our pump, see if it's in good shape. If it's in good shape, then we'll mic the pump gears, see if we have them in stock. If we don't have them in stock, then we'll order those in the size we need. Now you can see here somebody siliconed the pump in. Now, if you don't have an O-ring laying around like this one, 350, 400, 4L60E, all of them take the same O-ring. So if you have a broken kit anywhere, it's all the same stuff. So pretty simple. Now the pump gasket's different. This is different. Okay. Now, you remember me talking about this right here. Now if you have a stock plate that doesn't have this here, you can come in here and leave this sealing ring right here off. Leave this ring off.
Remember the first time I broke one of those? I thought I was going to get in trouble taking it off. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. But no, what we do, I'll try to teach everybody, especially when we're doing all these front wheel drives and all these exotic transmissions and stuff, you don't break snap rings when you or sealing rings when you take them off. You take them off and you size them, make sure you have one period in the kit. Because if you're sitting there popping all these off and break them, you go to your kit, next thing you go, oh, they shorted me 2 rings, or they give you the wrong kit because they don't match. So, this one here, we're going to be putting high pressure rings in this. It's going to be a Teflon ring. Actually, I got the little kit right here. You can kind of see it. Now these are high pressure rings here. They seal a lot better than your standard steel ring. So, look at that. But like I said, this ring off is the same thing here. Now when we get down to our 3rd gear drum in here, you're going to leave the center sealing ring off there too. If you do that, get your 5 clutch piston. We take and have these shaved where we can get 5 clutches in that 3rd gear drum instead of 4. That's a must too when you're making 400 horsepower, because that little 4 clutch in there, even though you're putting these Allison style clutches in there, they're still tiny when you only got 4. But when you can add one more, man, I'm telling you, it's like adding another big brake shoe in there. It's a big difference. So, yeah, we do have a roller bearing style pump stator. Some of them have a brass style, washer style, that have different thicknesses. that we can put on here. It will retro either direction. Now if we get it up, we can't set this up right with this bearing here, we'll go get our brass style washers because they're adjustable. They make them in different thicknesses, and then we can get our clearance where it needs to be. So this doesn't have to actually be in there if your clearances doesn't come out right. So I said that right, didn't I, Trent?
Yes.
Okay, just make
He's
it.
not saying just leave that out and don't
No.
put washers in there though.
Yes.
So y'all guys listen to how he explained that very thoroughly.
So you have to put something back in there to set your clearances. So.
Yeah, you have to put something back in there.
Yeah. Now, on a 350 tranny, anytime it goes into second gear, this piston right here comes out of this pump and pushes that second gear clutch on. So every time it does that, it tries to push the pump out of the tranny. So these bolts that hold this pump in, you want to make dang sure that these threads right here look brand new. Especially if I'm going to start making this tranny shift firmer into second gear. So the firmer I make it, the harder it's going to try to shove that pump out of that tranny. So that's why you got to be really careful on 350. I mean, these things can really make a good shift to second gear. Now we'll look here. They do make different thicknesses of these. I only make two that I know of: a 2 clutch, a 3 clutch. Could you shave it down and put more in there? There's no sense in it. I mean, those 3 clutches that's in there are massive. So they make this in different versions. Some of them, your piston will have stand-up little legs and individual springs. Or you have this style here that has a retainer that holds them. Now we're going to get in here and look at our pump stator. It looks really nice, beautiful here.
Nice.
Look down in here really good. I've seen a little bit of rust down in here. See it?
Oh, yeah.
Bushings look really terrible. Yeah. So, but the pump stator itself looks really nice. Pump gear there.
Like gray looking.
Yeah. I don't think this gear was coated. I just think it's a metal gear, just like a dull looking color.
Okay.
Now you get in here, look at your pump body. Pump body looks really nice. If you feel any lip over here trying to grab you on the top right here, that means it's wore down here on the bottom and not at the top. And if it's like that, that means the pump body's wore out. This feels really nice. You know, we'll come over here and grab our mic. We'll mic this gear really quick. I mean, it's all dirty, you get it cleaned up, but just saying. Estimated 723, 4 or 5, somewhere there, being that it's dirty. You know, there's dirt under the mic. But like I said, they make multiple thicknesses of these gears, so you need to mic that and check that. If you put too shallow of a gear in this, you ain't gonna have no pump pressure because you got your filter side, your suction, and then you have your pressure side. And if you put a big gap right here, then it'll just cross over. It won't make no pump pressure. So
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Mic your pump gear.
Now here we have this big old wave for your second gear. Now you can get these solid. This is a broke one. It's not broke, that's the way it's supposed to be, but they do have them solid too. There's nothing wrong with this, putting that back in there, and always put your wave back in. Because if you leave this wave out, the small modifications that we do to this tranny, it will break the sprag on the end of this drum. Even if you put a 34 element in there, it's going to hammer on it so hard because these clutches are so massive. I mean, you can look how big a second gear clutch is. It's massive. So, like I said, you don't really have to do much to second gear on a 350 to make it work. And leaving the wave in is one of them, is a must you have to do.
Seriously, it is crazy how big they made
They did. That was overkill. Like I said, this tranny, if it had a big third gear clutch, look at this.
Yeah.
Second, third. If they had this clutch half the size of that, this 350 tranny would be a beast. It'd step up to me. It'd step up into power glide range. You know, they hold up good when they're.
I think so, yeah.
They would. They're light. They don't take as much horsepower to turn as a 400. You can put an ultra bell on this tranny just like you can do any of them. Now you do have your backing plate. Make sure you put your backing plate in first. And you have your engine braking band here. starting to lose some chunks out of it. You can see it's starting to flake off and stuff. Now this band's only used in manual low. If we're building a race car with a trans brake on this unit, we'll leave the band out. But being at the street, we're leaving the band in because when you put it in second gear, this band helps hold this brake. So it keeps this brake from breaking. So just little things that matter. And we have our third gear drum here. Get my little green screwdriver. I like it the most. Yep. Now this little retainer here, you want to look through here for any type of wear. These are bad about stripping, and next thing you know, this spins. Snap ring comes off. Next thing you know, you just drove this up into your pump and stuff. So now they do make ones of these that are harder. This outer race, you can put that on there even with this sprag. It's a good upgrade because these are bad about splitting if you make it shift too hard. So this brag here you can't put in upside down, backwards or anything like that. But if you got a 34 element drum that's smooth, you can put it in backwards. You just want to look here, put this back on there like this. Say you're building, just say if you're building you a tranny at home and you bought you a 34 element drum and you're putting it in there. Get this back in there if I can. Just remember your roller always pushes, or your spring always pushes the roller uphill. So you want to take and stick this back on here. You want to make sure which way it turns. This one turns to the left. If you notice my other video, a 400 turns to the right. So they are backwards. See? So we have a verification chart I go into and glance at every so often because I do so many oddball trannies. You know, it's easy to make a mistake by doing that. So 350 to the left, 400, 4L80E to the right. So now we do have a bearing here that looks like it fell apart. This bearing should be clipped together, but it's totally wore out. It should be a locking bearing type deal. But you still want to look at your races and stuff like that. Make sure they're good. These you don't pop them apart, but you can feel them when you clean them, how good the race is. Now you're going to get in here to your third gear clutch, called a high reverse. Comes on in third gear and reverse. Now we got a 4 clutch pack kit, just a stock clutch. Now if you notice here on this backing plate, this little land right here. They make this land right here in different thicknesses to set your clearance in here. Okay. Now if I take my forward clutch one out, it could be thicker or thinner. Let's see what it looks like. Now here's our forward clutch. Now you're always going to have a wave in your forward. Some of them come with a wave in your third gear. So if you're building a hot rod, you definitely don't want a wave in there. 4-wheel drive pickup, anything like that, you want to get that wave out of high gear. If it's a wave in there, throw it away, period. It don't matter. Just chunk it. And forward, you have to put it in there unless you're building a high horsepower race car with a high stall converter. If not, when you put it in the gear, you're going to end up in the back seat. Pretty simple. So, but if you get over here and look here again, these do look pretty much the same. Right there. I usually keep like 500 of these things laying around. So you can see here, this one's real thin. So you grab this one here. See how that one's thick? There's nothing there hardly. So they make them in different thicknesses. That way you can set your clutch pack clearances up and stuff like that. Because other than that, there's really no way to do it. So that's why we have all these cores laying around here. It's the little stuff that we always keep that keeps us going down the road and getting these cars out. So now you look in here, you can where that stator bushing right here is running. The stator's good. We can put the bushings in here, but you can see here this whole shaft is starting to get grinded up pretty good. Same way here. You feel all of that big old. You can just. So put a new input shaft in here. You always want to check right here too where this washer runs. This surface area right here, because this washer runs here. You can get a plastic washer, a metal washer. You also want to check right here, because you have a little tiny bushing that sets down in that output shaft that runs right there. So they do make a Teflon plastic style bushing that you can go in there. Usually you just pull it out with your finger, it'll come right out. This does have a brass bushing already in it that's been pressed in, so pretty simple. You can see here another thrust washer. All the thrust washers are pretty much toast in this thing, mainly probably heat. This tranny's been running hot all its life, and that's why this fluid looks like that. He could have put a cooler on this thing and probably saved this tranny a lot longer. But physically, by looking at it, I mean, this unit was probably still working. Get the snapper out of here real quick. We got our snap ring. Got our forward planet. Same way here, you want to look for any wobbly, and thrust washers are gone, bearings gone, any wear right here where this bushing runs. Right here. You got your shell. Very seldom see any wear in the shell. You know, you start to see something touching here maybe. You want to look at that. You come back and look at this hub, make sure this thing ain't been rubbing. This wear here could be from an existing, when the tranny went down before and they overhauled it. This bearing right here could have went bad. That caused everything to set down in there lower. Anything like that to get that down to touch that.
Right.
So that's probably pre-existing damage from the first job. So we have a 4-tab washer here too that goes in the back. Now I do have plastic ones. You can upgrade it, but it doesn't have to be. Just going in a something type of tranny that's going to be hot, roundy round, something crazy. You want to get that out of there and get all metal in these things. Now you look here, our case support's in here really nice. Don't see any wear in the case. Looks really, doesn't even look like it's even spun. You know, it looks, it's going to come right out real easy. Look at that. Of course, we have another bearing that's fell apart. So we put all new bearings in this thing. These normally should be locked together. They shouldn't be falling apart like that. You get in here where your rear case bushing is. You want to look here where this support here is running. Scotch-Brite that up really good. Of course, you have another washer here, a little 3-tab one, and it's been hot too. You can just tell. I mean, this gives you a general idea what a new one looks like. Now, if you get lucky enough, you can go out in your core pile or something. They do make a roller bearing style ring gear back here in the back you can upgrade to, but you better make sure that bearing's good, because it's, I mean, that bearing is the number that they're hard to find. Those bearings are. I got a ton of the supports, can't find the bearings. So, but you got your low reverse clutch here. Of course, there's no wave or anything on this unit. Just some really dry looking clutches, burn up pretty much. Got your Sprague assembly here. Now we will upgrade this and put the 4060E big Sprague assembly in the back here. We're going to go back here and look to find us a support. You want to look here because they make two different thicknesses right here from a 350 4060E. But go back here and get your big Sprague assembly put back in here. Anytime you do that, it just eliminates any type of comebacks when you upgrade these things better than what they can be. We'll never see this tranny again until he brings us another one, or one of his friends comes and wants us to rebuild his. Now, just saying, if this case was bad, and if it's bad enough to need a case support, we throw them away. But this is your Anti-Clunk Spring. This is a case support that you put in here to use a wore-out case. So I just wanted to show you that. It sits down in here like this. Just like that. You put your support back in here. like that, and you can see where it touches right there. So that if your case is almost stripped, you can put that in there and it stops it. Now, if you notice, when it's in there, it's really loose. See, it's kind of jicky. Well, what I do, if I have to use one, and the customer won't buy a case, but he'll buy this $2 piece right here, and I'll take and heat this tip up with a torch, and I will bend it this direction where it sets tight in that area right there, and you can do it. And I've done it. That way, if it falls back in here, look at it. Is it catching? It ain't catching diddly.
Okay.
Look at that. It's junk. But if you take and bend that thing, if you take and bend this tab forward up into there, then it'll lock. But if you don't, it's going to set back here and it's going to it's going to rip it out of the case. So that does work, but to us, if it needs something like this, then we just find another case. I mean, we just don't want no comebacks or anything like that. So, but anyway, that's kind of a BOP 350 that we have here, kind of how we make them better and stuff like that. Trent, thank you again for recording, guys. Starting to get warm though here, about 10 to 2. It's Friday, guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend because we are. I'm going to go do a bunch of honeydews. Y'all have a great weekend.